Welcome to the Uncommon Truth. My name is Max, and we're joined for a Q&A with Steve and Vicki Orsillo, senior pastors of the Father's House Church.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
Hi, Steve. How's it
Hello.
going?
He was gone for a second. Where were you?
I was bracing my slide
right.
my brain.
Oh, yeah. So Steve's building the world's biggest slide for toboggan slide where there's no actual snow here in Oroville.
That's right.
And what comes to my mind are two things, actually, because I'm kind of a child of the 80s. Number one is Chevy Chase on the saucer when he sprays the cooking oil. Do you know?
We didn't.
Huh.
You never watched
We missed the 80s. We having kids.
What's it?
Greatest
family
Christmas vacation.
Right?
Yeah, we were civilized. My son asked me about that last night. He says, "You ever seen that with Chevy Chase?" And
he sprays this cooking compound that he's developed. And he shoots off like lightning down this hill and ends up inside a Walmart like 3.2 miles away with fire coming out of the bottom of this saucer. So we're going to put children on saucers and send them down this sled, right, for our lights of hope.
Pam on the bottom of it.
That's right.
And the other thing I think of is we could put Santa Claus up top. And the other crude Christmas movie that I know is the little guy from the Christmas Story.
You shoot your eye out.
You're going to shoot your eye out and
shoves him down
with his
steps
foot
on his finger.
It's horrible. I feel so bad for him.
Steps on his hand.
So I'm going to be in charge of the running of the slide once it's built.
Really?
Once you build the slide, I will run it.
You'll run it?
If you build it,
you will run it.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it? You have to. So you socially distance. Every child has to be 6 feet apart.
Everybody's going to be wearing masks 6 feet apart. I got to paint. I'm thinking of painting every 7 or 6 foot stair or whatever
really
or something.
Today we thought about Bubble Boy. You know, we could put him in bubbles and roll him down the slide.
Well, we used to have those at the summer camp.
I know.
And right after we purchased our Zorb balls, they're called. There was a video of somebody who just never stopped rolling, and they had it at a ski resort in Russia, and the person missed the cutoff. The guy who was supposed to stop him, and he just kept rolling. Just gone.
And by the way, segue to the people that are listening in Russia.
Oh, yeah. We had,
segue.
in the last week, we've had 2 people listening in Russia. So, das svidaniya.
I was going to say, but I couldn't remember how to say it.
We met so many people
for listening.
We met so many people in that region of the world who said they learned how to speak English from watching American TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah, that's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Dude, that's where you're learning your grammar and everything.
Yeah, you got some good English.
When I saw that, I remembered, because, I mean, you're not children of the 80s, but you're children of the Cold War. You grew up in that era.
Yep.
And so when you got to go on your trip a year or so ago, and you ended up in Moscow, do you go to Moscow all the way there? St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys got back, you were kind of scared, like in awe, like we got to go to the motherland. Oh my goodness.
Steve's
Yeah.
motherland. We found out Steve was Russian.
Oh, geez.
Well, I don't know if we have enough time for that on our Q&A episode.
probably not.
Yeah,
The
let's
Uncommon
just
Truth.
let that one flip right on by.
I'll refer you back to a different one.
I am
That's
Italian,
yeah.
born and bred.
Don't put the people down from Russia.
I'm
We're
not.
very glad
I'm
they're
not.
listening.
We're
If
glad
I
you're
was
here,
Russian,
Russians.
I'd be happy to be Russian, but I'm not. I'm Italian.
Well, let's rush through this segment and get on to
That's
some
corny.
questions. So every once in a while on the Uncommon Truth, we cover lots of big things. We cover lots of silly things. We sing some songs every once in a while.
We haven't sang for a while.
We haven't done that, but we'll
We'll sing in the sunshine.
Let's go. Vicki,
We'll
it's your up.
laugh every day.
I don't know this one. You
don't?
guys are on your own.
Okay,
Well,
go on.
Go
then.
ahead. Because
So-
you were a boy of the 80s.
Yes, because you're
Yeah.
not a child of the Cold War.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But
But
well, I was for 4 years. I was a child of the Cold War, and then I was born in '87.
okay, that's not really.
No.
Yeah.
Wait a
But
minute.
I do remember
40 years?
four-
Was the Cold
4
War
years.
over in 89?
No, 91.
The wall came down in 91.
89.
Fact check.
Wall came down
It was
in
Reagan.
89.
I think the
It
wall
was
came
89.
down.
It was 89.
89.
Okay.
It was Reagan.
We'll fact check that one and get back to you. Anyway,
Mr.
we,
Gorbachev, take down
Down your
that wall.
wall.
That was Ronald
Yeah,
Reagan.
Yeah, that was Ronald
that
Reagan.
was Reagan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
89. Fact checked is in. 89.
You were 2 years old. You're
I was
arguing with
wrong.
me? I was.
Steve, that was the first time you've been right on the whole program. That's amazing. Let's
My
just
history
stop.
time.
degree has failed me.
There's
Okay.
the first time for everything.
Amazing.
So we got a question.
Okay. From Sylvia?
No, this one's from our friend Heather, who's in Oroville. She
Uh-oh.
asks if the man is supposed to be the head of the house, but the woman is the neck, who really makes the decision?
The woman.
And I want Vicki to answer this one.
It's definitely the woman. It's you just need to know how to turn the head all the time, and I think that's what we struggle with the most is the exact way to turn the head, so it turns right, and we don't get whiplash. I think the flavor of the marriage is definitely the woman. I think the vision and the protection and the warrior part is really the man. The discipline, the father is the one that goes out and plays with the kids and teaches them to drive and throws the ball to the kid for the most part. And I'd say I think it's 50-50. Don't you? The men think they're in charge, so we just don't say anything.
Okay.
Go ahead, honey.
I just think.
Don't you think that that's probably true?
If we're talking from experiences or our experiences
Hello.
or others' experiences, there'd be all kinds of answers. But if we're talking about biblical experiences and who should,
you're gonna bring back to Jesus, huh?
honestly, I believe that even in biblical times, even what the Bible's talking about when Paul was giving those examples, the women ran the household, and they, and men. A wise man follows that and just really goes along with it, and really.
What do you mean by
submits to it? Just happy to have you make the decisions of our life. But whenever something really, like where will we live? Should we buy this big ticket item? This thing is attacking us, or this negative thing is happening to us. What do we do now?
Protection.
I think if the situation doesn't automatically become that the wife looks at the husband and says, "What are we going to do? Tell me what to do." Then that man hasn't loved his wife right. He hasn't proven himself to be a man of integrity. He hasn't been the man that she can trust. If she's jumping in to take over, then she hasn't learned to trust him. And then there's exceptions to everything, because sometimes the woman is the one more competent to make those decisions or to stand against. Sometimes the woman's more brave and can face the trouble, the storm, But I think in a true, I know our relationship, Vicki pretty much decides most things, tells me I'm happy to be told what we're doing. Yeah. What are we doing? What do you want to do?
Where we're going.
Yeah. I want to do this. I want to do that. And we have an amazing affinity for agreement where, I feel like going here. Well, I was just thinking that too. And we seem to be in total agreement, because it's been a lot of years where do you want to sit in a restaurant? Where restaurant you want to go to? What do you want to do? Where do you want to put the Christmas tree? I don't care what it is. Where it's really whatever I'm happy to support whatever you want. And I like this and I don't like that. Usually the decision is made by her. But when it comes to really big things like, the children fighting, or things that are very serious, like, just mean people do mean things in this world, Vicki always turns to look at me and says, what are you going to do?
Fight my
what
battles.
are we going to do? Defend me, kind of just step in. And so I really have no problem knowing that I'm the leader of our household, and yet I also have no problem following her. There's a security in me that is not intimidated by my wife being in charge and being the neck that turns the head. I actually so appreciate when she comes up and says, and turns my head. Oh, look at that! I didn't notice. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. And I take care of it.
That's cool.
It's really a combination of back and forth, and really wisdom. Truly, it's wisdom in a man in a Christian household of men, being the head of the household and all that. How you explain that, I think, is just that a man is secure in himself to really desire his wife's gifts and talents to be added to the mix, that her abilities, her wisdom, her
leadership,
her just femininity be added to the decision-making process and go along with it until the decisions need to be masculine. And then her, giving into that. She's happy with that. And that's when a marriage is really balanced and really good.
Yeah, I think too, it's really good because it really is a give and take, and knowing who you are in Jesus. And I'm confident because my husband let me be confident. I'm a leader because my husband, not that he let me, he didn't stop it.
Against it or stop
and
it.
A lot of Christian men will lord it over their wives that they're the head of the household. I think that's real damaging.
Yeah.
The only place that it's like if we ever come to a big decision where neither one of us can come to an agreement, then it's up to Steve to decide. And that has happened 0 times in our life where we totally disagreed, and he had to decide. And we don't talk about every little thing. He we're going on vacation, it's me. We're going to go out, it's me. People are coming over to our house, it's me. Buying property, it's probably him. Disciplining, it's probably him. But it's like we just don't stop. We just know what we're good at and what God's told us to do, and it's a real partnership. So it really is the flavor and the movement, I think, is a woman. The protection is a man. That I like the protection. I like that my husband covers me. I like that I don't have to make the brutal decisions. It's a warrior part of him that I really appreciate. It makes me feel very safe.
Cool.
I'll come home and she'll have booked a cruise, and it's not. She doesn't look for my agreement. She looks to see if I have any objection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, is there something wrong with this? No.
That's awesome. Somebody showed me a Facebook post that it was a gag post that women are sharing with their husbands, and it's a piece of a tree branch hanging on a hook, and they do this to rile up their husbands. They say, "Hey, look, I just bought this online on an Etsy shop for $90." And then they see what their husbands say because it's a tree branch hanging from a string.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even look that nice, and it's just really funny. You see the like little text message comments back and forth. Why would you buy that? And then like, oh, just kidding,
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny seeing some of those $90 tree branch. That's just what made me think of.
I want to start selling those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Ildiko
we got enough
posted
of
that,
those.
didn't she?
Yeah.
I was wondering. I thought, Ildiko, you have better taste than that.
Yeah.
I could have done that for you for $80.
Yeah, Ildiko's our big interior decorator,
Yeah.
exterior
Aesthetics.
decorator, right?
Yeah, she's a genius.
Director of aesthetics.
So, okay, I got another question. This one's from Emily in Canada.
Hi, Emily.
And she's wondering, how can we as Christians be better unified, especially during this time when we can't meet? Because up there, everything's gone to DEPCON, red, whatever, full lockdown. Can we show unity to the world around us? Or how can we show unity to the world around us that desperately needs hope and joy? And a side note, she's been following everything that's been going on at our Lights of Hope that's going on. She's been watching on Facebook and stuff. And she's really excited about it.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So unity, in my opinion, is the absence of struggle or the absence of resistance. If we quit resisting each other and quit
fighting
against each other and start blessing each other, and you'll find that if we're talking about churches in town, find out what they're doing and we don't want to do it, we just don't criticize it, and we support it in what way we can, verbally, or we put it in our bulletins, or we tell other people, hey, they're doing this, and that's how unity exists. In my opinion, disunity exists strictly because of resistance. I don't like them, or I don't want people going to their church. I want them coming to mine, and the age-old jealousy. They left my church, now they're going to yours. You should have sent them back. No, I should bless them to go to your church and believe in you. At least they're in church. And you should bless them when they come to mine. And we shouldn't have this struggle between us. And so within my church, it's really, again, the absence of resistance. It's this constant offense. And we have, however many types of people there are, we have. And there are certain types of people that just don't like the way other types of people do things. And I think unity is really the absence of resistance. It's maybe I can't get behind what you're doing, but I can stop getting in front of it. I can stop resisting it, and find a way to bless it and find a way to be happy for it, so that we have one faith, one unity of mind, one thought that Jesus has preached. Now, I wouldn't have preached him that way, but you're preaching him that way, and I'm going to quit criticizing your way, and I'm going to bless your way and preach him my way, and then we are blessed that Jesus has preached.
Yeah.
But how do you? I think the question would be, how do you practically do that while you're on lockdown?
Well, I think the resistance and the disunity of Christianity has been put on blast during the lockdown. I think that Facebook, everybody has more time to put social responses to everything. And the worst crowd out there is the Christians. And I think that if Christians would just shut down the disunity, shut down the criticism. And, when some person says they're terrified and you not wearing a mask puts their life at risk, there really is no need to resist them. Our message isn't, I resist you. Our message is, for your fear, let me introduce you to Jesus, who will comfort you. And I'm sorry I've made you feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry I've hurt your feelings. Would be the proper response. That, and I love, want to share Jesus with you and try to be in a position where you'll listen to me, unless I completely blast you and call you stupid and ridiculous for your position. Then I don't have much voice. And that's how unity comes right now. And I think during this lockdown, it's the worst. And if we would start saying only encouraging and wonderful things,
That's really good. I think, the social platform, because we're locked in our homes, i.e. Facebook or whatever the social media is not responding, like Steve's saying, to inflammatory things or, just like I know that during this election, we really wanted to say things sometimes one way or the other, even if we're right, about some things that are happening, socially, morality and stuff. So it's just really, instead of resisting or buying into it, you just really come back with the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
Whatever's good, whatever's pure, whatever's noble. Again, think of those things. And I think just your home, you just start, I think even just sending them a text or a card in the mail, promoting unity, telling you, or doing acts of service. And I don't know how you could do that while you're locked down, but maybe there's a way of doing something, helping people, your neighbor. I don't know if you get, I think in Canada sometimes they'll actually, they're paid to, I heard Lisa Bowers told me that sometimes if you leave your house, you're in trouble. You could get.
Yeah, you can if you're supposed to be, there's a lot of, it seems like it's a lot more strict and a lot more, you're kind of afraid of your neighbors because you can be told on that that you've gone to the store, or
so
that's going to breed disunity. So I think in the social media arena, when they say things you disagree with, you can't really write and say, "Oh, I agree with that," but you can stop writing, that's wrong, and just let it go, and create less conflict, so there's more unity.
I just heard a story about a Christian woman who said if you vote, actually I think Canadian woman, who if you're the North American Christians vote one way or another that she didn't like, she was unfollow them.
Unfriend them.
Unfriend them. And it's like, unfriend them, I'm sorry. And it's like, that's not very unifying. It doesn't really matter.
No, that's really divisive.
It's the love of Jesus, it's just, it's Jesus.
It doesn't change anybody's mind either.
It doesn't change anyone's mind. Me talking about who I'm voting for, who I'm not voting for, there's just a polarization. It's not going to do anything, but Jesus is the bridge. Jesus is the bridge to all the answers and the truth, and he shall set you free. So I think you just stick to the words of Jesus would be a better thing to do.
Yeah. Cool story with, right now we've got our Gift of Hope running, which provides Christmas gifts for kids whose families can't afford it. And one way we do that is we partner with businesses, but also other churches. And so we bring a Christmas tree and a bunch of tags, and the church says, well, we don't have a program like this, but instead of standing in your way and making our own program to kind of compete,
we'll join
yours.
Well,
why wouldn't we want kids to get Christmas gifts? We'll guarantee that these 25 kids or these 30 kids, whatever, are going to get Christmas trees or Christmas presents, and we want to help you with what you're doing. And that's something that I've seen you guys do a really good job at, is inviting other churches to join, and also joining with what other churches are doing.
Trying to,
we got a prayer walk coming up for the city. Okay, let's send our people to it. Let's let's go to this dinner. Or this church does really well with fostering, helping foster parents and adoptive parents. Well, let's send some of our people to their training. And so that's really cool. I think that's another way. That's a good way that Christians
in lockdown. I don't know how you could do that, but it's you're not going to be locked down hopefully your whole life. Hopefully one day we'll be off of lockdown. But
in lockdown you can just stop resisting.
One thing you could do if you got a lot of extra time on your hands is you could tune into another church service and join in. Join in with them. You got a whole week to sit home and rewatch some church live streams.
Check out the Father's House.
See what it's like. You can always watch ours online.
Or you can do a gift of hope. You can send a kid in Oroville through Amazon. You can get him a Christmas.
Yeah, giftofhopeoroville.org.
There you go.
You can buy Christmas gifts and just send them here, and we'll make sure the kid gets exactly what he wants.
Good question. Thanks, Emily.
That was great. I got another question from someone in Canada. This is Carly. And this one I'm excited to ask you guys because it's something that I think you guys will have a really unique, uncommon perspective on. And it kind of blends in with Emily's question. So Carly asks, in situations where you're running after Jesus and other Christians don't see things the same way that you do, how do you deal with that disappointment from people? Does that make sense?
You say it again.
So when you're running after Jesus, so Jesus has called you to do something, a minister in a certain way, go someplace, do something. There's other Christians that don't agree with what you're doing
all the time.
Right? How do you deal with that disappointment? Because you're still following Jesus, but these people could be, maybe it's somebody who's really close to you, or maybe it's a community of people who aren't on the same page, or and I thought I was excited to ask you guys that question because it seemed that like the church here has been going on for 22 years, and it seems like it hasn't always been the case that the rest of Oroville, even though we just talked about the rest of Oroville is really becoming unified in Christianity, it hasn't always been the case, right? For you guys?
No, it hasn't. Do you want me to go or you want to go? Are you ready?
If we're talking about groups or we're talking about individuals, you might have a different answer. But.
Well, so like I think if it's a fine line, isn't it? But you got to start in the small things that God's told you to do, and with a lot or by yourself or with a lot, by many or by few, right? Yeah. You got to do the next right thing. So people. You might be disappointed in the reaction from some Christians, and that's usually, I'm just going to be honest, in our 22 years, that's probably been the hardest thing, is the resistance from Christians because we're doing something. And if we had waited for the unity of all the churches in Oroville, we'd still be basically in a heap. And so we didn't do things to be resistant. We didn't do things to get negative. We just felt like the Lord told us to do these things, and they were acts of service. So we did them. And what were we resisted, for lack of a better word, by many, many Christians? 100%. For many, many years. We'd hear rumors about us, and people talking about us. And it was honestly until Operation Oroville about 4 years ago that really changed our reputation and everything. So my answer, Carly, would just, you need to go. And by many or by few, if God's told you to do something, run with Jesus. Dream with Jesus. He's all you need. And you can do whatever he's called you to do. And, if you have more people, you can do it better. But if you don't, you just do it by yourself.
And if you're talking about a local thing where he called me to go down and give cookies away at Walmart, then that's not a permanent decision anyway. And it either will have good fruit or it won't, and then I'll know he did or he didn't. But if it's move here, move there, go here, go there, change your vocation, change your direction, then I personally know that it's really important to have men of good fruit in your life. And so one way or the other, you have them from your past, you have them in your present, that they really demonstrate good fruit. They have the joy, the peace, the patience, the kindness, the goodness in their life. And they have an outcome of their ministry that has a positive effect, right? So those people you need to have those people with you and praying for you. People who will, even if they disagree with what you're doing, will hear the Lord and tell you they felt the Lord say it was right. Even though I disagree, but the Lord says this is what he wants you to do. If you have people of good fruit and good conscience and good faith that you can go to and say, pray with me, because if it's God's will, they will say, if it's God's will, you have to do it. And let's find out, let's just pray together. He can tell me as well as you. And that's how I believe. But if it's just things in town, things you're doing, like I'm reading the Bible this way, we shouldn't do that. Or I'm listening to this podcast. Well, you shouldn't do that. Those people are works oriented. Or you shouldn't do that. Those people are don't worship on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They have some reason why you shouldn't be listening to those people over there. Then, it's not a permanent deal anyway. You can listen or not listen based on what you feel the Lord told you to do. So there's many things in your life that you can choose to do. You can choose to go give cookies away and say Jesus loves you, even if it has no effect whatsoever. But it probably will. And it harms. There's certainly no harm. It's kind of like the apostle saying, should we call down fire on the guy? He's preaching the gospel. He's not with us. Jesus said, oh, no, rejoice that the gospel is preached. Or is it Paul? Anyway, rejoice that the gospel is preached. And but if it's I'm going to go to this Bible college, that Bible school, that ministry place, I'm going to move to this church, I'm going to go learn with these people. You're going to come here to Orville. Then you should have people of good fruit, even if it's us that you're listening to. But you should have agreement with someone who also hears the Lord and says that this is what they believe you should do.
Cool. That's good. Carly also wanted to say that she's loving the podcast and the topics that you guys are hitting.
Love Carly.
So, she said, I love the podcast and
Carly Platt.
topics you guys are hitting. So thanks.
It's Edward Island, right?
That's right.
All right.
All right. We got a couple people ask questions about worship, and so I grouped them together.
Okay.
And I think there's some overlap here. But the first question, I'll just read both of them, and you guys can answer how you see fit. The first question
we always
is,
do, don't we?
Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
Like you're shocked.
Is it selfish of God to expect to be worshipped? That's the first question. And the second one is, in the context of worship, how important are our feelings? So they're different questions, but they're kind of both about worship. So
I want to sing that song, Feelings. Remember that song?
No.
Feelings?
I don't know.
Yeah, nothing more than feelings.
Nothing more than feeling.
Trying hard to forget.
Trying hard to. Oh, I don't know.
My feelings of love. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No, it was us. It's our turn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's our turn. So I'm gonna defer to Steve because is it bad that God wants to?
Is it
worship?
selfish of God?
Is it selfish of God?
It is insanity that man would not feel that God should be worshipped. It's insanity that any man would not worship God. To look at the universe and look at the earth and look at the miracle of childbirth and how reproduction happens and how humans are so far different than every other critter on earth. There is no close second. There is no one in process. There's no animal on earth that's close in process to be human, to have the sentient humanness. And it's just the evidence for intelligent design, and then the incredible nature of that design, followed by the story of God's creation leading up to man's rebellion and then man's ability to be saved back into his grace. It's just insanity that man wouldn't worship him. The most important element is not that God demands worship or expects to be worshiped. It's that man should understand that God likes to be worshipped, and every human being who draws breath on this planet should be looking at God saying, I would never do anything but worship you because I know you like it and you've provided so many blessings here on earth for us, and we should just worship you. And what was the second question?
And
can I go to the first one though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Then you can, and then ask
I
the
said
second
answer
one.
as you see fit. So
Yeah. Supposedly man is created in God's image, and I know that when my kids worship me, or love me or adore me or say things nice to me, I really like it. It's like, and equating selfishness to God is I don't know how you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So he gave his son to die on the cross for me. So I think that's a hard verb for me to use, as selfish and God together. I think he's very, very, very unselfish, and the fact that he saved me while I was yet a sinner and sent his son to die on the cross and then resurrect. I think, and then to piggyback what Steve said, oh my gosh, that I could worship him, that he likes it.
That could please him.
Yeah, that there's something that I can do that
something that I could do.
Him. He likes it.
Yeah, so I think, so my thought is, we like it in the natural as parents. You know, don't you like it when
Praise,
your daughters say that you're a great dad?
Yeah.
You know, don't you like it when your kids run to you and just put their arm?
They're only saying what's true, but
That is true.
Go ahead.
So there you go. What's the second part of that?
No.
Go ahead.
Selfishness by itself. The Bible says God is love, and in my experience is God is love.
That's good.
And selfishness is the opposite of love. So it would be entirely impossible for God to be selfish to want us to worship Him, because God is love, and love is not selfish.
That's good.
Anyway, second question.
That's good. Second part of the question, or second question about worship is, in the context of worship, how important are our feelings?
Our feelings are almost
zero.
They should worship, which is the worth of God being expressed, His worth being expressed. And that's why I say, when you see the creation, when you just look at planet Earth,
you go to the
and
ocean,
then you look at human bodies and human reproduction, and just the incredible nature of male, female, and how the two really make a complete being. No one is really whole. No male is really whole who doesn't have female. And no female is really whole who doesn't have a male.
Yeah, he didn't mean to say females.
Yeah, I didn't mean, scratch that one.
Yeah.
Female.
Scratch the plural on that. Honey, I didn't say it.
I heard you.
Don't play it back.
They're gonna.
It's forever recorded in your brain.
They're gonna go back check.
Who doesn't have
female?
The female that doesn't have a male, or the male that doesn't have a female that's connected to. And I know that's really unpopular today, but the wholeness of a man and woman becoming together, and the two becoming one flesh. I mean, that's just such a miracle that it's the fact, it's the truth, regardless of my feelings. Now, on a given day when I'm just bubbling over with happiness and I'm worshiping, it certainly is way easier, but it shouldn't have anything to do with whether I do or don't. Because when I walk in all bummed out that every cut I made was wrong, or everything I built, I just kept making mistakes, I couldn't get anyone to do it right. You know, everyone failed me, and the guys cut me off on the freeway, and, my cat died, and all those things. And I walk into church. He is still worthy.
That's right.
And all that should not have anything to do with my worship of God. My worship should be based on what He has done for me, with me, through me, the fact that He lives in me, and coup de grace, He likes it.
And it's even, He's worth it even when your granddaughter dies, or your associate pastor dies, or your house burns down. He's still worth it.
Yeah.
He still is. He's still worth it to worship. So feelings have nothing to do with it. It's the facts of who He is.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So this one's about forgiveness, and we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. But somebody asked, and this was an anonymous question: how do you forgive yourself for something you are still experiencing the consequences of?
That's good.
Well, that can be so many things. Like, you can do something really stupid and lose a limb. You can do something really evil.
There's a child.
So some people, like, we've known people who've relapsed on drugs, and that one shot caused them to be diabetic, or caused them to have some kind of a neurological malady. And they're suffering from that. The biggest one we deal with is the parents of grown children who they abandoned them when they were children for drugs, or they didn't feed them because they bought drugs, and they kept going to prison, they kept going to jail, their kids kept going to foster care, and so their kids are now adults who both hate them and love them, and the relationship is so dysfunctional, and the kids still to this day are constantly hurting themselves because of the actions that their parent committed many years ago.
Yeah.
So they're living with those consequences. There's, like we said, health problems because you did something wrong. There's, you had.
So how do you forgive yourself?
You were gonna be a lawyer, but you got caught stealing money from the till at the diner and went to jail, and you can't be a lawyer. So there's consequences. There's so many consequences, negative, that continue to go on forever. You can never be what you were going to be, what you wanted to be, because of some mistakes you made. And, I could go on and on with stories like that. But what do you do with it is, how do you get over the shame, is you have to believe in the forgiveness of God and the redemption of God, that the only hope you ever have of reversing those negative things, or having them recouped, having them the bad made good, or snatching life from the jaws of death, or, having someone find eternal life that lived eternal death. All of those things, the only hope you have is to become the best you can be, and be the person that when they need help, they'll hang on you. When the situation requires it, if it's one of those, I can never be a lawyer because I did this, then the best you that's a waiter in the restaurant, or a carpenter, or a concrete man, or whatever you're going to be, that you're doing that with the fullness of your heart to try to be the best you can be, so that you can redeem what's left of what you have. And that will never happen with shame hanging on you. Shame has to be left behind you. And right?
Yeah, I just actually spoke on this last Wednesday. Like 8, well, I guess it'd be two and a half weeks.
And it was magic. If you want to go on,
if you want to go back and listen to it, it actually talked about, the upward call of Christ, and forgetting what's behind you, and it's actually Paul, who was
forgetting what lays behind me, I press on to the upward call of God in Jesus Christ. So
it's actually Paul, who was a Jew of Jews, who was actually persecuting Christians, and was there when Stephen, he held the coat of Stephen when he got killed. And it became apparent. It's apparent to me that we have to cut that off our past when we become saved. We have to go on. Paul is I'd say Paul's probably the most famous Christian in the history that we know.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was a murderer. He thought he was doing the right thing. He was murdering Christians, and he forgot what was behind him. Yeah, there's consequences to your actions. I think it was 14 years probably for him dealing with stuff. I don't know, but honestly, when I got saved, I just realized that I'm a new person. And Satan always wants to remind me of the person I was before I got saved, and it's not true. So really, it's like, say it again, Steve. Press for that scripture.
Oh, it's Paul. Well, I shortened it a lot, but it's forgetting what lays behind. Keeping our eyes on what lays ahead. Keeping our mind on what lays ahead, and the end is keeping our eyes on the prize, the upward call of God in Jesus Christ. I press on towards. The upward call of God.
And that's what that practically, I think you have to get there. You have to, you might have consequences for the rest of your life, but like Steve said, you could right now you can be the best mom you ever were, even if your kids aren't with you, because they're somewhere. When they come back, you could be the best mom or the best father.
But one of the fruit of being born again is you get to forget your past.
You get to forget
you get to shake it.
I know.
That was somebody different.
And the consequences.
That's right.
Like the question is about the consequences still there, but you still get to be free.
You have hope. I mean, you have hope. But Satan wants to remind you of your guilt and everything. But you can shed it. So I would just say, continue to strive for the upward call of Christ and forget what's behind you. But it's a tight walk because sometimes there's consequences.
Yeah, you can't have double vision. You can't be looking in the rearview mirror and paying attention to what's in front of you, right?
Correct.
But like she said, the question there is, it's right there in front of you. And what we deal with is the kids that all of a sudden they're doing good, and then all of a sudden they're doing bad, and well, that's related directly to what I did to them.
Yeah, the parents.
And they have to get through that, and they have to say, but I found hope in Jesus Christ.
Right.
I was born again, and so can they, and they have to stay the course with that kid. Yep. They have to stay the course with that person every day. I'm going to be, when you need help, I'm going to be a person you can hold on to.
Right.
I wasn't when you were a kid, but I'm going to be now.
We just had a story of a lady who for 14 years, her daughter would have nothing to do with her. 14 years.
Wouldn't talk to
her. She didn't get to see grandkids. And there wasn't drug addiction. It was just whatever. I don't exactly know what it was. But just a month ago, the daughter reached out to her after 14 years of doing the next right thing. Mm-hmm. So it's not always an automatic instant fix. And if the caller or the writer in wants to ask specifically, maybe we could be more specific on the answer.
Yeah. That's good. This one kind of intrigued me a little bit. And it's just, you can tell this was asked by somebody who does a lot of thinking, right, as they're going about their day. So the question is, so culture and technology and medicine, et cetera, have come a long way since the time of Jesus, since he was on earth. So to what extent do you think he'd participate in the things that are normal for us? So if he was on earth, would he go on vacations? Would he own an iPhone? What would he watch on TV?
That's a great question.
That's it's like
that's a great question.
Somebody with a really good imagination is thinking of that, but it's hard to picture Jesus sending a text to somebody like, "Fear not, I'm with you," and Jesus texted me. It seems different.
I heard what you said when you hit your finger with a hammer, Thomas.
Or because you recorded it live
because you recorded on Facebook.
Facebook, right?
So this is just. I don't know if this is a theological question.
It's hard to be theologically accurate with a question like this.
In my opinion, I think he would just have a good time. I think he would probably indulge in the right way with everything. I think he'd be a good sport.
But are we talking about the same mission?
Like, what do you mean?
He didn't come back then, he came now.
Yeah, he's not coming to hang out and just, play video games.
He's here to die on a cross and be resurrected from the dead during this visit.
Yeah. If this, I mean, I guess, so you can interpret it however you want.
Or he just came to hang out and the crosses are done and resurrection's done and it's just
is this like the tree in the forest?
Okay, so here's the deal. No, it's a good answer. So if it's not the die on a cross, if it's die on the cross, it's clear he did not ride in wagons. He did not have fast chariots and fast horses.
Yeah,
they walked.
The best.
They walked. They didn't even use the what they had at the time.
Okay.
Probably the greatest invention of all time for them was the wheel, and they didn't use those things. Yeah, he still carried. He didn't apply to those kind of things, and he went aside to pray, but he didn't go aside to spend 2 weeks on the beach in Maui and do surfing and jet skis and
Sea of Galilee,
he didn't go to play.
He walked across it.
But if we're talking about he went in first century Jerusalem, did all that, and came back today, well, the truth is this. Here's the truth, the absolute truth. He is still here today. He's resurrected, came to the baptism of the Holy Spirit to make him and his Father make their home in us. And so Jesus is in me, and I go on vacations, and I play, and I read Facebook, and I read novels, and I watch TV. I love movies, and I use a telephone, and I use all the technology available to me today. I don't get to go on moon launches or space shuttles because I'm not in that technological field. But I do take medication. I don't think he did, nor did he need to. But he is here today, participating and living with me, walking with me, and I do all those things. And so he is doing them with me. I think that if he showed up in person, he would do them with me because the reality of his presence is equal in spirit to being physically here. So that's my answer.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That is pretty good.
That was pretty good.
I said it, but I didn't say it as eloquently.
Eloquently. I've not been accused of eloquence much, but that's really fun.
That was
That
is
was
nice.
so good, Steve.
I mean, because one of the points you've made before and in sermons is Jesus actually does live in you. That's so when whatever you are doing, he's doing it with you. And if it's great, then good, you're doing great things with Jesus. And if it's not so great, well, you're partnering with Jesus to perpetrate some,
You're taking him into some nasty places. And so I don't think you can do that. I think you grieve the Holy Spirit and he moves away.
Yeah.
I think he does pull back, and I don't care really what people's theology is. It's impossible for you to participate in those things and have the Spirit stay with you.
Well, we do have more, but I think that's all the time we have for today.
Really?
You guys answered those. Early? No, okay. You guys just answered those pretty quick. Time flies when you're having fun.
We are having fun.
When you're having fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, so we do have one. Our producer is giving us extra time. We might need to be quick with it, but how do you reach people that grew up in the church but don't really know Jesus?
That's a good question.
I don't know if we can answer that.
It's the hardest group to reach.
That's right.
unless they have rejected Jesus.
Wow,
If they think they're okay, and they think they believe, and they don't believe, they don't live the life of belief. There's no fruit for their belief. It's so hard. It's really a long, they'll want to and can't do it. They'll want to come, and you just can't get them over they're expecting something completely different than what he's doing. They've just lived this. This is like going to school to them. This is like eating and breathing to them, and they don't experience anything, and they don't really find the truth of the gospel or the results of the gospel to be fruitful in their lives. And so what I find, a great deal of those people turn out to be the best Christians ever once they are able to cross over into reality of a relationship with Jesus Christ. But it's really hard to get them there sometimes.
But we do have quite a few people like that. But I think the number one thing that would help is when there's a desperation, like the rain's gonna fall on you and your house. There will be a windstorm, and so at that point where they have a little bit of the knowledge of Jesus Christ, and then maybe the real Jesus, not a religious Jesus, or we're seeing an epidemic of millennials that are just walking away from Jesus. So I think, in millennial Christians. So I think being there and living your life authentically, so when they're ready, they will come to you. And that's what we're seeing now, because we've been 22 years. We're the longest serving senior pastors in Orville, and people are actually like, "You're still doing that? You're still senior pastoring?" And they were kids or they were teenagers, and they're coming back because we're still exactly on the rock we were when they left.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Was that good?
Absolutely.
Did you think it was great?
Yeah, honey.
That's good. If you missed it last week, Vicki was wondering why every time she says to Steve, "Wow, that was good," that's the first thing after Steve talks, and so she asked why Steve doesn't do that to her, and so now Steve is making an effort.
So these church kids.
Oh boy.
Oh, we're going back.
That's right. We're staying right on it. Right. So these church kids.
He is single focused.
A lot of them are just looking for something real. And if you'll be real,
that's good.
Wow.
They will eventually become your best disciples, your best followers of Jesus, your best partners in unity.
That's right. And you probably got that because I said authentic, right? Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I got it all from you.
That's right, so it triggers something.
I know, absolutely.
Right. So I helped him.
That's why it's so good having both of you guys together, because it's like watching a ping pong match. You ever watch? When I go to watch tennis, I don't watch the tennis match. I watch the people watching the tennis match. Right?
I like to pick people out of the crowd.
And somebody won the point when the head stops.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, actually, the voice is like that now.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have two different arenas, and
my
the judges are like this.
Back, forth, and then the lob. That's great. Anyway,
I don't think people on The Voice on this.
If you're just listening,
really
right? You have no idea.
Watch us on YouTube.
If you're just listening, you don't know what we're doing. But if you'd like to,
that's true. It's radio. That's funny.
Well, I know I have a face for radio, a forehead for radio, but
no, you don't.
Come on, man.
Now I'm miming. Now I'm miming for radio.
Come on.
So we'll probably have people on the next Q&A. What is Max saying or doing when he's not talking? Right. Well, it's miming a tennis match. Anyway,
on the radio.
Well, we appreciate all you listeners everywhere. We've got questions from several countries, lots of different places.
Love y'all.
If you have more questions, we've actually got an email address that you can email us. It's uncommontruthpodcast@gmail.com. I'll get your questions. I'll put them in a folder for every time we have a Q&A. Every time we have to do a couple episodes at once, we do a Q&A. And people love asking you guys questions, so I think we're going to keep doing it. You guys just have a great week. We'll update everybody on all our things like Lights of Hope, Gift of Hope, Podcast of Hope, everything. Next time you hear.
We hope the podcast comes back.
We hope. Yeah.
That's right. Hope we finish on time. So thanks for joining us. This has been The Uncommon Truth. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.